I'm Charity Kadogo Mutie. I'm currently a student at AIU. I'm doing a Master of Arts in Missions with an emphasis in Islam. And yes, I love telling people about reaching out to Muslims and encouraging them that it is possible, it is doable. What else? I did a bachelor's in ICT at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology. And yes, I think that's all.
Okay, so from ICT to emphasis on Islam. I don't want to jump ahead of you, but I want you to take us systematically through your journey to how you got to where you are now. You are a student.
Yes.
But you also say you are actively involved in mobilizing for Muslim
Evangelism. Yeah.
So you find yourself in campus. You've been called to JOOUST to study ICT.
Yeah.
Did you join the CU in first year, or at what point did you connect with the CU?
Actually, I joined CU the second week. When I went to JOOUST, I had friends. You know, the way you have people you are studying the same high school. Sorry. So we go to JOOUST and we met, and then we started having friendship for that week. I could see in the notice board, I could see advertisements on orientation for the first years, but I was not able to allocate or rather to attend an orientation because of the company that I had. So the first Sunday we go to the service, and I hear something about prayers in the morning devotion and the evening devotions, and I decided to be part of it. So I went for the morning devotion that second week. On a Wednesday, I met one of my close friends. So after that second week, she introduced me to missions. She told me there's a mission for Network Kenya that was to happen the third week of my school. So it was down there, somewhere in Ngong. We were stayed by Sitam Ngong. That was the third week of my school. So I didn't know what exactly what a mission is.
You came from Nyanza to Ngong.
To Ngong.
For a mission.
For a mission. So she had told me there is an allowance for, like, they are providing fare for one way. So all we needed was to get fare for one way. So we got ourselves to the mission. I got to the mission, and during the mission, I think the third day, we are told when we meet Muslims, we are not supposed to reach out to them. So this was because there's one of us, our colleague, actually one of our students, we were with her in the mission, and we go for door to door. Then she tells us that she met a Muslim, but it was quite hard. The argument was really made her feel so devastated, and that she didn't know our religion. So the following day we are told, as you go out, when you meet Muslims, do not engage them. Just leave them. So for the rest of my first semester in first year, I knew Muslims are not to be engaged. Yes.
Okay. But I'm sure that has changed, eh?
Yes.
And I like that you mentioned that, because I know that probably you'll tell us how that shifted. So you joined the CU now, you're already going for a mission. Third week in campus. What would you say was the CU's biggest impact on you as a student in campus?
I think for me, CU was very important. It helped me to grow in the Lord and to provide avenues to serve, because I was able to serve in leadership. In my first semester, I was chosen as an interim treasurer in ushering, first semester. So from there, I knew I wanted to be in the CU and I wanted to grow. Later, I became one of the coordinators in discipleship for 2 regimes. And also I served in the missions department in one of my Eve team, WET. And also CU contributed so much to impact me by exposing me to different missions and also to different avenues. I was able to attend Ezra conferences, Commission 17, NLMS conference. So it really brought me so much exposure into ministry and also serving God in campus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is both the spiritual growth,
yes,
but also leadership exposure
sure,
that happened to you when you were a CU student. You mentioned conferences, which means you interacted with Focus.
yes.
And how did you get to know about Focus, and what do you think about what Focus is doing in the CUs?
Wow. Number one, I want to appreciate Focus and what God is doing through Focus in through students and also impacting students. It is true, as Focus says, that they impact students and change the world. I am part of that impact, and I want to thank God because of my friend, the one I told you. She told me of Ezra 16. Remember, now I'm a first year, first semester. So we registered for Ezra 16. But I went home because we were like to have a break of a week and a half before Ezra. So when I went home, I had an accident. I hurt my leg so much, so I could not come for Ezra 16, though I had registered. So that's how I got introduced to know about Focus, because she was really passionate about Focus and everything that comes with ministry. So she really helped me to understand Focus in a better way and to appreciate all the conferences that are there to be attended when I'm in school. Yeah.
So you didn't attend Ezra, you attended Commission.
Yes.
Following year.
And Ezra 19.
And Ezra 19.
And then LMS 19.
Okay. That's the National Mentorship and Leadership Summit.
Yes.
So, Commission. How did you hear about Commission and how did it impact you?
So when they went for Ezra 16, they came back really passionate to go for Commission, which was the following year. So when we joined in January, first there was Kairos. So she told me, you have to do Kairos. You have to understand missions as general. So in January 2017, I did Kairos. So when I did Kairos, it opened so much to understand missions. I got to understand about Muslims and why it is important to reach out to them. But I didn't feel like it was important for me to reach out to Muslims. So I just felt, after Kairos, I felt God was calling me to be a giver, to support missions, to pray for those that are missionaries and pray for God's work. So fast forward, that same year I was now set that I wanted to attend Commission. So I registered for Commission. I didn't go home. I didn't want any entrance that will make me not to attend. So I stayed in school until we were now able to go for Commission 17. So when we went for Commission 17, what I really love is that there's a package that they give. There is a carrier bag that has a Christian literature book, has the conference book and a few things. But what attracted my eyes was the Christian literature book. I remember during the conference, they told us that they usually prayed for these books because they give the package randomly, just as you are, being served, you're given your package. So they told me when they give these books, they usually pray as they pack them, that it gets to each and every one. So my book was Visions of Vocation. So I read the title, it didn't ring a bell in my head. So I just sat there and I was like, okay, I don't know what this means, but maybe I'll understand with time. So during the conference, I was able to attend a few things. I attended Muslim Evangelism seminar, and I really loved what God is doing among Muslims. But I was not convinced that God would call me to reach out to Muslims. So again, I left Commission convinced that I am commissioned to pray and to support missionaries, that is through sending. So I never felt like it was anything to do with reaching out to Muslims. Yes.
So how did it change? At what point did you then realize it's not just giving and praying, but actually going and doing the actual work of reaching the Muslims?
What happened is that when I left, I started reading my book, The Visions of Vocation. So as I was reading this book, God was directing me so much to love the world as He loves it. The writer points out that he brings out the story of the Good Samaritan very clear. He talks about the priest and the Levites that came and passed by this man that was so hurt. And he says that these people knew and practiced and studied the law that taught them to love their neighbors. But they were the same people that were, looking at this person and hating on him, or rather not helping him as it was required of them. But here comes a man, loves this man in this state, and he attends to this man. So I remember God really aligning my heart to love the world as he loves it, reminding me that he loved me as a wretched person, that if he was to look at me, he would not love me. But that did not make so much sense until I attended GP. So GP now really literally opened my eyes to understand even this book more and more and more.
So GP could be anything.
Yes.
What's GP?
GP is an acronym for Global Project. Is a program it's a program of Intervarsity. Intervarsity is a body that brings together Christian students in America. So what they do, they organize mission trips for their students to different countries during the summer. So one of them is Kenya. So there's GP Kenya, there's GP Uganda. So Global Project is brings these students from America to Kenya to come and experience ministry, missions, Kenyan way, and also be able to learn how they can do missions in their own country. So it was during this time that what Focus does, because Focus is, they have an agreement with Intervarsity. So Focus comes up with different students, could be 3 or 4, that come and be a part of this GP and help learn the culture of the American students, and also them themselves get to understand themselves more and what God has in store for them. So it was in 2018, around March, I got a call from our regional coordinator then. His name is Matthias Mudosi. So he calls me and he tells me, "Hi Charity." Actually, he called me Kadogo. Who calls me Kadogo, really? So he tells me that he has invited me for a program for working with the Americans. Literally, kutembea na wazungu.
That's what he said.
That is what he said. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. Being an African, being a Kenyan, I would want some exposure like that, to be with a Muzungu for 7 weeks. Who rejects such an offer? So he tells me that I'll get a call and it will be able to clarify that. So after like 2 or 3 weeks, I get a call from Evans Gatwata, the director missions Focus. So Evans tells me that I've been invited to be part of GP, Kenya GP, and it's a missions program for 7 weeks, whereby we will do missions alongside the American students. So I was excited, but also I had fear and anxiety within me, because that time we had a strike that had affected all public universities. It was a lecturer strike, and it had prolonged for like over a month. So this time it's around April, but now the institution is insisting they will start teaching even if the strike continues. So they will teach through up to around June, and the program is supposed to run June to July. So I was terrified, but I prayed and asked God that I would want so much to be part of this program, that if it's of him, let our semester be moved to August. So God literally answered that prayer, and I was so excited. I called Evans and told him, I think I'll be part of GP, because our semester has been moved to August. So yeah, we went home. We were going for another mission, wet mission. I went for the mission, stayed for like 2 weeks. Then I came for GP. Now GP had 4 main sessions. There was orientation, there was ministry assignment, there's mid-project, and there was debrief. So orientation was more of learning about Kenyan culture for the Americans, and us learning to interact with the American students, because we are going to stay with them for 7 weeks and we are not using our phones. So I go, I did the orientation. Ministry, we were sent in partners. Like if it's a Kenyan, you are partnered with an American. So my partner and I were sent to West Pokot. We served in Sigor town, so for 2.5 weeks, and we came back for mid-project. Mid-project was more of different ways we can do ministry, because there's a day we were taken to Hindu temples and we got to learn why these people worship gods, got to eat their food. So it was different ways of ministry. There's a day we went to a children's home in Huruma. We got to interact with the kids, washed their clothes, basically did different things. So there's this day was a Muslim day. So Muslim day meant we were to be involved with how to reach out to Muslims. I will not disclose much details about that day, but what I know is that God really placed so much love for Muslims in my heart that day. I could feel there was an inclination. I can sit with them and have a conversation with them. But as is my usual, I put it aside. So after our mid-project, we proceeded to a debrief. It was in Mombasa. And one day we had a topic. What are we taking back to campus? It was a topic to help us to reflect, to get to understand maybe what is God placed in our hearts for the last 6 weeks. So I remember it is the time God really spoke to me in a very clear way, and he told me that he understands I know nothing about Islam, but I have to go back to my campus and set up a ministry that reaches out to Muslims. That brings together the CU members that are willing to reach out to Muslim, and it also equips them and prepares them for ministry among Muslims there in the campus, so, not in Isiolo or anywhere, but right campus. There in the campus.
So your GP is over.
Yes.
And you've heard the Lord say, I know you are not equipped with this, but I want you to go and start Muslim ministry in campus. How did you go about it? Now you're back to JOOUST,
yes.
And the Americans are back to America.
Sure.
And you have your phone now. So
yes, I must say it was much a joy to have my phone back after 7 weeks. But when I got to campus, I went and sat down and I told God, actually you spoke to me this, no one knows about it. So I will sit with it because I don't feel I can do this. But I'm always reminded of Jeremiah when Jeremiah says that your word is like fire in my bones. That is exactly how I felt. I felt disturbance. There was lack of peace. I could not settle until I had this done. So I thank God for our chairperson then. He was called Viden Kirui. I approached him. I told him, I feel God is inclining my heart to do this. And he told me, go and read the book of Nehemiah. So he began taking me through how to handle a vision, how to, some of the things he told have built my life in ministry up to date. He told me, even if you start up this team and you remain with one person, you have to keep the ministry going, because number one, it is not your work, it's God. God will sustain it, so you have to keep going. So in August, he gave me the opportunity to speak in the CU, to tell the CU about my experience in GP and challenge them about reaching out to Muslims. I did that, and something happened in September. So what happened, there's one of the guys, he's called Sam Munyao. He's the current missions director at JOOUST. So Sam comes as a first year reporting, and he goes to the chair, Viden, tells him, I think we've concentrated so much in Christianity, why don't we do something on Islam? So Viden tells him, we are starting that thing, and I will introduce you to Charity, who is working on that. So I always think that if I had ignored God, God would still do that, because he was set on doing this in JOOUST. So that is how the ministry came. We started in September 2018. And that semester we were more of learning, inviting more people to be part of the team, and also praying that God establishes that. Yes. I
would want to hear some of the real ministry experiences you had with the Muslim ministry at JOOUST CU. If you can remember one or two examples of actual outreach to Muslim and how that experience was.
Yeah.
And whether the Lord spoke to some and...
Yeah. I would start by saying it was not easy, especially at some point I felt we needed first to talk with the Muslims, tell them what we are up to before we can engage one-on-one with them, because I felt, you know, they are a small number. So if we go all of us to each of them, they may go to the admin and feel like someone is, you know, sabotaging us, or someone is, you know, following us. So it would feel, it would bring so much issues. So what we did, we wrote them a letter. We wrote them a letter and we told them, we are inviting you for dialogues. We are inviting you for a talk. We just want to get to understand our religions and get to know maybe what is the truth. So when we invited them, they came over. And one of them, I'll not say his name, but one of them, he was a 4th year. That time I was a 4th year first semester, so we were basically the same year, and we were doing almost the same, because he was doing security, I was doing ICT. So he talks and says, stands and says, I've been a 1st year and now 4th year. But my greatest prayer has been, can we have an avenue where we can sit with Christians, with us, and have a talk? So to him, this ministry was an answered prayer, and I felt, wow, 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 how God works. So fast forward, we invited them for CU, because we used to have discussions with them. We would meet every Sunday, and our discussions would start with a prayer from Christians, a prayer from Muslims. And then it would be different discussions. It would be to enlighten them, to understand Christianity more, to help them understand some of the issues they have never believed, like Trinity. So we would come and explain such things to them. Then we would come with questions, ask them these questions. And I always believe, though we may not see the fruit now, there's so much planting that we did. So we invited them for CU. And they sent this guy because he's a staunch Muslim. So they sent him. So the guy comes, and when the service ends, he looks so confused. He looks so disturbed. Something is amiss. So I asked him, hi, how was service? He was like, I'll tell you guys when you get to our fellowship, as we used to have it from Sunday 11 to 12:30. When we get there, he starts by saying, there's so much that I've always believed that today I feel it's a lie. I've always believed Christians worship 3 gods, but today I believe they worship 1 God. So there was so much unlearning that he had. And later in the semester, I saw him come to one of our fellowship, our 4th year fellowship, and I was so excited to see him that he could come to our fellowship. So I always pray to him, for him, that God would touch his heart. So of course, COVID interrupted so much, because we were organizing a party with them to do a bash for both of us, the team and the Muslims. But of course, COVID interrupted. But even now, they still have the meetings, and I've been challenging them, the team, so much, because I handed over the ministry to the CU. But when I talk with them, because I had been to a training to train them, but I challenged them to go on one-on-one, each of them to get a Muslim. During the week, they are conversing. During the week, they are working with one. And I thank God, because many are becoming more confident to reach out to their classmates, to their Muslim friends. And I know God is going to do much.
So that work continues even after you've left?
It continues.
So what would you say to a CU student who feels like they don't have the capacity to do anything? You know, evangelism on campus is, you know, the CU will organize an evangelism week, I will go for inreach, but that's just as much as I can do.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to a CU student who feels intimidated by the whole idea, not just of Islam, but also of, you know, just reaching out to the campus community, their friends and other people on campus?
I would say, let them be confident that God counts on them, that they themselves are Christians because someone reached out to them. And the good thing is to just live out Christ, because even if we do not know, people are watching us. Someone will one day walk to them and tell them, yes, you are a Christian. I don't understand why you're so good or how things are working, but I want to be like you. I want to know this Jesus. So I would tell them that they stop those thoughts of intimidation and start thinking highly of themselves and start having confidence that they can share gospel with at least one person. They have a friend, they have a roommate, they have at least someone. Even now we have first years. You know, when you're a continuing student and you see a first year, you can have confidence to talk with them. So they can begin there. They can begin conversing the first years now. They can begin with a close friend, a roommate, and not feel so bad about everything that is happening, but they should just allow themselves to reach out to at least one person that is close to them.
The Fellowship of Christian Unions, reaching students, changing nations.